With the revelation of MT being Tulip's reflection, Jesse proceeds to hammer them with all kinds of questions, some thought-provoking, and others gross. What's the most interesting is what happens when the Prime, the person who is being reflected, dies. You have either one of two options. Either have your memory wiped and start the process all over again, or become a fleck. Fleck is a slang term for a mere policeman, much like how a cop is in the United States. As they enter the car, it reminds me a lot of The Wizard of Oz for some reason. Doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary until the group comes to a deep mud puddle. Jesse and MT ride Alan Dracula to get across. They get a little ways through when Alan drops them off in the mud. As they walk to the door, Jesse sarcastically says, "Be useful for once and laser the vines off the door." To their astonishment, he does. They both stare in shock as he starts talking. In opening the mouth, there is a parasite. Just a simple little green worm. They are a little reluctant about the parasite being in there, but they warm up to the idea. I do have a little bit of a sidetrack for this one. When I first heard about dissociative identity disorder, I thought this is what it was like. All of a sudden a new person comes over, controlling all of your actions, while you are there trying to fight for control. But the more you fight, the more people vie for power, till eventually the identity is pushed so far to the back that there is no hope of control. But you slowly watch as these other forces do things to your body you don't want to. This is what I thought about when the parasite, nicknamed Perry, said Alan loves this new setup. It's like we are brain roommates. After an agreement that Perry will not hurt Alan, they move on to the next car. There's a running joke here that Perry changes Alan's hands into human hands. First, it's an adult hand, which disturbs MT. Then, it's a baby hand, followed by an old man hand, I think? I'm not entirely sure about that one. Anyways, they go to the next car, where they find it's a fashion show. They have to dress the part, as well as walk the part to leave the car. Jesse goes first and does a pretty good job of it, almost losing his wig and not fully doing the split, but gets 9s from all the judges. MT comes out, which reminds me a lot of Mandy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, if anybody else remembers that show. They are also not having any part of it, but still shows some moves. They are awarded an 8. Now, Perry's performance, how do I describe the feelings this conjures up? I think I'll just leave it as, I never thought I'd find myself this jealous of a deer. During the routine, it looks as if the real Alan Dracula is trying to break out, but Perry resumes control. They then proceed to a car full of food. I think it's supposed to be the idea of a food pyramid, as there's a slight Egyptian theme to it. Perry takes some chips and dips it in chili. This begs the question, whose stomach is this food going into? Jesse looks in shock, as Alan is a vegetarian. It looks as if Perry is starting to control without consent. Then, the real Alan takes over, messing with the supernatural powers. Here is what I found really surprising. Once MT says, Alan doesn't want this. I thought Perry was going to give a speech of, I don't care what Alan wants. I've been without a host for too long, and now I finally have a body. I'm not going anywhere. Instead, though, Perry says he wants to leave, but he's just unable to do so. They have become too merged to be able to separate that easily. MT then remembers the first car of this journey. There are flowers that Alan is allergic to, and when he sneezes, it freezes. MT then goes back through both cars, and I love the idea they still have to go on the runway again. They get the flower to Alan, and Perry is out. This gets Jesse's number down. I'm guessing a central theme is that of identity, being yourself, as well as not forcing others to be who they don't want to be. While Perry is there partially frozen, he asks if MT or Jesse would take him instead. Obviously, they just leave him there. His last words still confuse me. I spent the last 2 years in a succulent. I thought succulent was an adjective, not a noun. I had to look this up, and a succulent is a type of plant. Which this explains a lot how Alan got taken over. He ate the plant that Perry was. Oh yeah, that's the Parasite car. Seeing the roach dogs from book 1, I thought the parasite itself was going to be far more disturbing. Here though, this looks like a bright green jelly bean. I guess the minor body horror could be unsettling, but not as much as I thought it would be. All the same, I hope you'll join me for the lucky cat car. Knowing how much I loved the cat's car from book 1, I think this is going to be another good one.